Welcome back to the channel. This time we're unboxing, installing and playing the new Tom version of Jobeki's Fast Fit line of drop-in trigger systems. This one is pretty similar to its larger brother that I reviewed on this channel a couple of months ago, but I feel like this trigger deserves its own video because it's specifically designed for rack toms. I'm also responding today to a subscriber request asking for an example of a full acoustic to electronic conversion, so we're going to do this as part of this review as well. I'll be converting this 10-inch rack tom that I bought a while ago, new, from Rec Drums here in Australia. They do a really good job at building inexpensive drums, drum hardware, etc, etc. And frankly, this stuff is really ideal for A to E conversions, and I'm going to link them in the description below. Looks like the wonderful folks at Jobeki have sent me one of their, or a couple of their, Prestige 3-ply mesh heads as a gift, so thank you. I'll definitely be using one of these for the conversion here today, and I'll give it a mini review at the end of this video, so please stay tuned. And here for the trigger itself, like its big brother that I reviewed on this channel previously, this one's made from metal as well and has a nice weight to it. But this time it's a 3-head piezo setup rather than the 4 of the larger versions. I've already stripped off all the hardware. If you've got a drum like this that already has wrap on it and you want to change the aesthetic, you'll probably want to remove the wrap. The easiest way is with a heat gun to break up the adhesive behind it, or if you're impatient like me, just shove in a flat head screwdriver and use some brute force, and that'll do the trick. I've selected some beautiful turquoise sparkle drum wrap that I really like. Right now I'm measuring and cutting the wrap to the width of the shell. A pro tip when wrapping drums is to make sure that you have about 1/4 of an inch between the wrap and the bearing edge, just to give it some room. Then in terms of the length, make sure that you have a couple of inches overlapping from wrap to wrap to make sure there's no bare wood. Ideally aim the crossover point to be covered by a row of lugs if you're using wrap where the seam might look obvious. I got this wrap from Rec Drums as well, and I really like the look of it, and in fact I'll probably rewrap the whole drum kit in this if this particular drum comes up as nicely as I hope. Next up, I'm using 2 rows of thin, high-quality double-sided tape as wrap adhesive. Some drum builders swear by certain kinds of glue, but in my view it's a real permanent solution. Off camera, I very carefully stuck down the wrap with some help from my wife. My wife! And now is the satisfying part where we remove the protective layer off the wrap. The location of the vent hole on this drum is a little bit weird. It's under where the L rod goes, so I'm having to drill a new hole for the input jack using a step drill bit. I strongly advise you use a step drill. You just get so much more neat holes without the splintering of the shell or fraying of the wrap. Next up, I've grabbed a drill bit the same size as the pre-drilled lug holes to make holes for the lug screws. Time to start putting together our hardware, starting with the mount and then the lugs. Screw, 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 screw. Really starting to come together now. Okay, let's get the Jobeki trigger in. Rather than going for the mini jack solution that you can buy from Jobeki, this time I'm using a jack assembly that I put together myself for another project, which actually has a locking mechanism on it, which I like, so that, cables can't be pulled out, which is an occupational hazard as a live e-drummer, as I'm sure many of you know. Eventually I'll solder it with a 3.5mm jack, but for now I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch or 6.5mm to 3.5mm adapter. So now we're going to fit the beautiful Prestige 3-ply mesh head that Jobeki have kindly sent me. Feels lovely in the hands and actually feels pretty similar to the Drumtech Real Feel heads that I have. I have already applied the grey rubber rim protector to the drum hoop on the batter side. And now I'm just going to use a humble Remo silent stroke on the Rezo side. By the way, try and avoid the Remo silent strokes as batter side heads. They're just too bouncy and too poor quality in my view. Okay, and we're done. And yeah, I think it's come up really nicely indeed. Please let me know in the comments if you like the look. Now it's time to mount it, plug it in, and get playing. I'll give you my verdict at the end of this video on the trigger and the head, so please stay tuned after the playing examples. Okay, so here's my verdict. I think that the trigger here is excellent. It does everything that I would expect a premium trigger of this price point to do. I think that it triggers excellently, is a really well-made piece of kit. I'm okay with the little hot spots around the piezo, so that's really, really normal. Rim sensitivity is good, although I did need to kind of ramp that up a bit both on the F-Note and the 2-box module, so just note that for future reference, and let me know if you need some advice about dialing this particular trigger in the comments. The head that was supplied to me, thanks again Jabeki for the gift, was excellent, really nice thick 3-ply head, and I noticed a reduction in bounciness compared with the 2-ply heads that I had on similar drums. So thank you so much for watching today, I really appreciate it, and please stay tuned for more on electronic drums, A to E conversions, and premium trigger reviews.